All right, everybody, we are at 12:35, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining me. If you have not had a chance to, please download the Performance Matters app. There's the registration code and the bit.ly to get to it. If you have any questions, then I can point you in the right direction for that. But for this session, we're going to be talking about supporting teachers with an EdTech coach. And my name is Dr. Ashley McBride. I, until yesterday, was the Director of Technology for Dare County Schools, and I will be starting with the Digital Teaching and Learning team at DPI on Monday as the, hold on, it's a long one, Digital Learning Initiative Coordinator, I believe is the correct name for the title. It's brand new to me, so just trying to learn it. But I'm very excited to get started on Monday there. And a little bit more background about me. I was an English teacher for 8 years. Thank you, Jan. And then I moved into a EdTech coaching role as an instructional technology facilitator. I worked in that position for 3 years, and then I moved to district level in that school district as an IT project manager for a short amount of time before I took the technology director position in Dare County Schools. My history is all about wanting to support teachers and in integrating technology in the best ways possible. So about a year ago, I finished my doctorate in educational technology, and all of my research was on technology-related professional development for teachers and EdTech coaches, which is where a lot of this comes from. But that's enough about me. So I would like to hear about you. So in the chat box, if you could, please share your name, your job title, and your location. And I'm going to give appropriate wait time. Welcome, Wendy. Welcome, Jan. Morgan, welcome. We got a couple more. I'm sure I'm asking you guys to like put your fork down while you're eating lunch, so I'll give you time. Hey, Donna. And Lindsay. I think that's most everybody who has joined us. All right, well, I asked that question because it's important to me to know who is here so that as we start talking about the EdTech coaching role, I know kind of how to direct those conversations. All right, so question. Do you currently have EdTech coaches or ITFs, you may call them different things, in your district? Welcome, Karen. Jan says they do. I think from your job descriptions, most of you do. Teacher leaders while still teaching. Yes, your roles kind of hinted to me that you guys had some in your districts. I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that. I know that we have one who has teacher leaders who are currently teaching, but for the rest of you, what is the ratio of schools to EdTech coach? Is it one EdTech coach for each school? Is it 5 schools to one EdTech coach? Do you have some sort of ratio that you can share, which also kind of helps? 1 to 23, okay? We got a 2 to 23. 1 to 4, about 1 to 9. All right, so we don't have, and I will tell you that originally, and if I'm going back to the research on coaching, one coach for one school is the best approach, but I'm hoping to share plenty of resources and everything with you that you can use regardless of how many schools are actually supported. So the first thing I want to do, and I'm sure you guys are eating, and I feel bad to do this to you guys right this second, is I want to split you guys up into pairs. And I want to have you guys do a quick breakout group. So I'm going to click and open these slides, and I will drop the link for you as well. See if I can copy that. All right, so we're gonna dig into the North Carolina standards for coaches. I think that this is really important to do as we get ready to talk a little bit about the role. And then we'll dive into some resources and structures. So when you get onto this slides presentation, the directions are that we're going to split into smaller collaborative groups. And this is only going to be about 10 minutes. So hopefully it doesn't mean your lunch gets cold. We're going to split you guys into pairs. And then I'm going to have you read through some of the standards. So what you're going to do is you and your partner are going to choose one standard. If you get through the first standard and you want to do a second standard, that's great. But there's a link on each one of these pages that take you to the North Carolina standards for coaches, or the rubric that are used to evaluate coaches, Edtech coaches specifically. And what I want you to do is I want you and your partner to kind of type up, if you were watching somebody implement this standard, what would that look like? What would you see that person doing as an Edtech coach? So are there any questions about that? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split you guys up into groups real quick. We're only going to be gone for about 10 minutes. So let's see. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, we're losing people. So I'm going to back off of this and I may not do the breakout groups. Nope, we're still good. All right. 10 minutes. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Find my breakout rooms. There we go. All right, so we're gonna have 2 to 3. We're only gonna have 2 rooms. So just whenever you get to your group, just whichever standard you choose, just put like group 1 or group 2 next to the standard so the other groups aren't doing it. Hopefully when I do this in the future, we'll be gathering some other things. Are there any questions about what we're doing? All right, I'm going to create the groups and we'll be back here in 10 minutes. So 12:54. Welcome back. I think that's everybody. All right, so I would like our group of 2, if you could share real quick kind of what it is that you guys discussed when you were in your breakout. Whichever one of you wants to speak to it.
So I guess that was us.
Yes.
Because there was only 2 people in there. Okay, we have the standard that states instructional technology was 1C, I believe. Instructional technology facilitators advocate for effective instructional technology programs, meaning they apply information and technology standards as they design and implement learning experiences for both students and educators. So on our slide, we said that when we see these EdTech coaches applying this standard, that they would facilitate their modeling and teaching how to use the digital tools, not a whole bunch at one time, but we said few. We follow school-based tech goals, so we'd be adhering to digital technology standards, the digital learning competencies, and the ISTE standards. And we look at the content standards and design goals for that standard in the content. We would conduct PD using the tools, resources that go along with those standards. We would also advocate with the admin, find out what the admin expects of their staff. And then on the professional level, like share out best practices like here in workshops and conferences, and definitely incorporate the ISTE standards.
All right, thank you. Our group of three, who would like to share out on that one?
Y'all, we forgot to draw straws to see who was sharing out.
Sounds like you're it, Lindsay.
Oh, thanks, Don. I appreciate it so much. All right, so we chose D, which is instructional technology facilitators promote and facilitate effective collaboration among educators within and beyond the school setting. Instructional technology facilitators generate positive student outcomes by leading, modeling, and promoting effective collaborative practices that support and create effective learning communities. They demonstrate persistence, creativity, openness, and establish relationships and building partnerships. They review data to inform instructional planning while collaborating to design, facilitate, and evaluate instruction based on research and practices. And they work collaboratively to identify the select resources for curriculum support and partner with teachers to create instruction that is enhanced and enabled by relevant and effective digital tools and resources. So some of the quick notes that we took would be facilitating grade level and or content area discussions and sessions together within a PLC. Definitely seeing data-driven decision-making, being involved in leading or participating in the Media Technology Advisory Committee, district level PLCs, coming together with other ITFs as well to kind of model that behavior, accessing school and district data to develop school or district PD that's targeted just in time and aligned to the specific data, goals, and needs of a school and or the district as a whole. Utilizing SAMR and TPAT to select goals that are the best fit for a specific school, grade level, or content area. And then lastly, we have research-based and best practice for all resources, materials, and PD being given and shared as well.
Thank you. So when I, as a tech director, one of the things that we did in Dare County was really redesign the ITF role. So it was less like break fix and the person who's just talking about digital tools and doing very basic level things, and moved them into more of a coaching role. And this was the first step for us, was to take this and do this activity with both ITFs. I did it with the ITFs, and then we also did it with administrators in separate settings to allow everybody to kind of tease out what the actual actions would be for the rubrics. I know that principals some of them have 100 or more staff that they have to evaluate throughout the year. And if they have an ITF that they have to evaluate in their building, then they've only got one of those. So they're looking at the teacher evaluation so many times that they've probably memorized it, whereas the ITF evaluation, maybe not so much. And then there's some language in there that I had some administrators come to me and say, what does this mean? I'd never really dug deeply into this. So that's kind of where I was trying to get with this, with you guys. I know that you guys know these standards and you guys know these rubrics well, but this is just a really great activity to get everybody kind of teasing out what those actions look like. And it's a great way to start getting people's minds thinking about, okay, well, if they're doing MTAC, if they're constantly doing PLCs, and they're doing a lot of these pieces, then kind of going back to some of those ratios for ed tech coaches to schools. So anyway, that was the intention behind all of that. So next thing I wanted to do was make sure that you had something to take and look at for research. And when I started doing my research on educational technology, professional development, I found a meta-analysis that took, I think it was like 32 different research studies, and really dug deep into what it was that made good, solid professional learning, what actually made changes happen for teachers. So there's some documentation there that you're welcome to take and copy and use for your background, or if you were to be talking to administration, or if you were just wanting to look at some of the research around this. But the big pieces are that professional development should be content focused, incorporate active learning, support collaboration, uses models or modeling, provides coaching, offers feedback and reflection time, and then is over a sustained duration, meaning that multiple years. And there was one research study that I had read where they, after year one, they didn't see much of a change, but year 3 with professional development and constant focus on goals, they were able to really grow teachers out. So I wanted to make sure you had some research before leaving here. And now kind of getting to the meat and potatoes, I know you're is really just when I've looked at those standards, the North Carolina standards for ITFs, and then in a broader sense, the ISTE standards for coaches. One of the things that was really hard for administrators and sometimes teachers, and honestly for me, when I first became an ITF, was what is the framework that I'm working under? Because I remember walking in and kind of looking around going, okay, so I'm helping teachers with technology. And a lot of that at first looked like I helped them set up a Google Classroom. I may have brought in an Edtech tool, and it was a lot of tool based or a lot of things based. And it wasn't as deep as I would have liked it. I wasn't able to get in and talk about pedagogical structures and different things until I really framed myself within my school. And so that is what this is it's really a structure for an ed tech coach to kind of be more understood and to better understand kind of what their goals are. So an ed tech coach, if you were to look at all of the NC standards or the ISTE standards for coaches, you could place these things, all of those standards, into a bucket. Providing formal professional learning for staff. Offering coaching cycles. This isn't something that is seen as often, but and I actually have a session later today about coaching cycles and then a repeat tomorrow about that. But offering coaching cycles for really in-depth work with teachers. Offering personalized teacher support, and then providing the coach with focused leadership responsibilities. Not just tossing things at them. Here's testing, here's this, here's that, here's, more of what is something that they can focus on, a project or a program that fits the need of the school. And then that ed tech coach should always be focused on clear goals for the school and or schools that, because a lot of you guys have multiple schools. And then there should be some sort of vision. So I'm going to take you through all that, and I see need access to fact sheet. Oh, sorry. I will do that. My fault. I'll change that access at the very end, if you don't mind. I'm going to move forward, but yes, you can definitely, I'll change that. All right. So, and I gave a link to a website which has all of the resources we're going to talk about today. So, and just full disclosure, I have a book with ISTE coming out called the EdTech Coaching Primer, which is based off of this structure for EdTech coaches. And I put a lot of resources on this site, and we're going to go through each one of these sections a little bit more in depth. But I just wanted to, full disclosure, there's a book out there that's coming August, beginning of August. All right, so clear goals based on the vision. One of the things is making sure that administration is on board and there is some sort of focus, whether it's a school level vision that you're looking at, a district level vision. So if you have a vision or a mission for your school, and one of the ways that we used to do it when I was an ed tech coach was our school improvement team would come together and say, we want to work on this as a school. And then I would take that vision or that idea and then break it into some different possible goals that would meet that vision or would meet that change that the school wanted to see. And so being able to break it up into goals would allow me to think about how to do professional development for my teachers so that we were constantly moving towards that vision. And I'm going to move straight into professional development because I do believe that once you've established that vision and once you've got kind of the goal that you want to work on, then you can easily plan out professional learning that moves your teachers toward that goal. The sessions, before we get into resources, need to be regularly scheduled. So it's important that the administration is on board with protecting this time. One of the things I did as an ITF is I worked with my principal whenever we started doing this. And in the summer or right at the beginning of the school year, we actually scheduled out which days and what time of day we would be doing professional development. I did mine after school because my principal wanted it to be a choice activity and they were getting CEU credits, plus the district at the time was doing a badging system and some other pieces. So that's what worked for that school. As a tech director, I have a lot of schools who decided to do it during PLC times. And then the ITF, and full disclosure, again, we've got in Dare County, they have one ITF for every school. So that changes the way they're able to do professional learning too. So a lot of those schools are doing it by PLC. So they have a school vision that they're looking for, but then each PLC is coming up with a goal, and that ITF is going in once a month and providing or doing professional learning with each PLC each month. And it's already scheduled. They know what week it's going to be. They know what time it's going to be. And then making sure that that time is protected, that we're not scheduling other meetings on top of it and things like that. So I want to take you a very quick dive into some of the resources. I'm not going to go super deep. I have 2 sessions after this. One is on professional learning and coaching together, and we'll dive more into the formal professional learning resources. And then I have one on Edtech coaching cycles, and we'll dive deep into the Edtech coaching cycles resources. All right. So the first thing I have here is a professional learning planning document. All of the resources on this website are 100%. You can take them, you can use them. Please give me credit. That is the Creative Commons, I forget what it's called right off the top of my head, license that I'd like to be used on this. So just provide credit, but you're welcome to take and edit these. But this is just a planning document of what date is the session happening, what's the title of the session, what's the description of the session, what materials are needed, and then is there pre-work? One of the things that I found is a lot of, and actually I did a research study when I was an ITF with my teachers where I interviewed them after we did a year of this and found that they preferred pre-work as opposed to me giving them something to look at, read, or watch during the session. If I tried to flip in my session so they had time, I was trying to protect time for them, but their suggestion to me actually was, what if you're going to do that, why don't you say, if you need time, we start at 4 o'clock. If you've done it already, we start at 4:20 for the collaborative pieces. So anyway, if there was any pre-work. This is something that you would have the ITF possibly put together at the beginning of the year. So this could be shared with everybody so they know kind of what's coming down the pike. Then there is this request tool. So if you wanted to focus on more choice, you could do that. And you could put in sessions, the session descriptions, and then give this to a PLC, and they could choose what dates they did each one of those things, and maybe align it with certain lessons or units that they've got coming up at certain points. Sorry, I'm looking at the time and realizing I need to pick it up a little bit. Then there's an actual schedule, and then a choice board. So the schedule is really like, this is the schedule, this is what we're going to do, and here's what we need. And then the choice board is you're putting up sessions and all at the same time. So for example, I did, as an ITF, my teachers came in and there were 4 independent sessions going on at once, and they would go to the table that matched their session, and then they would start digging into the resources and doing the collaborative activities. Well, I facilitated all of the items. So this would be where you put the goal, overarching goal, and then you would list the different sessions and then the date, and if you had multiple sessions going on at that time. Again, I'll dig into this a little bit better in the next session. And then just the session planning document. This is kind of like a lesson plan format for the professional development. So what are the activities? What's the title? All of the things that need to be fleshed out and ready in order to actually do the session. I'm going to pause for a second and see if there's any questions in the chat before I move on to the next piece. Okay, cool. Formal coaching cycles, I'm not going to dig real deep into this because I do have 2 sessions coming up on that. But really the goal of the formal coaching cycles, so if you're doing regular professional development, then teachers who want to go even deeper then could request coaching cycles. And you would actually have the ITF or EdTech coach or blended learning coach or whatever you name them go in and observe, allow for reflection, provide feedback, give, and then sit down and plan how can that person support. And I'll show you real quick the actual cycle steps. So you initiate, they observe, feedback, reflection, then the coach and the teacher sit down and plan out and then implement and provide support. And it's that last piece is really moving us into the next little puzzle piece of the EdTech coaching role, which is personalized teacher support. So whether the teacher is doing coaching cycles or they're just doing the professional development, both of those activities allow the teacher to kind of say, okay, we're talking about this. In order to implement that, I need information about tools that allow me to design blended learning, which would be research for the EdTech coach. I need someone to show me how to do this. And that could be done through modeling. So the coach could come in and model a lesson with the class, or they could model it in professional development so that the teachers can feel it. Co-planning. Hey, we've been talking about this during our coaching cycles. I'd love for you to come in and help me plan out this next unit, and then maybe co-teach that unit with me, or just do the co-planning. And then one of the big ones is data analysis and usage. What type of data are we gathering on our students, and how are we using it to inform our practice is also something that the EdTech coach can really help support. Resources for this are a little bit more sparse, just because a lot of it's really kind of self-explanatory, but there's some descriptions on this page for you. And then I do have, for co-planning, I do have questions that can be asked prior to co-planning. Add, take away, use, don't use, just so that way the EdTech coach knows when they're coming in what it is that they are going into. And then, whoops, I'm gonna back out. And then the other one that's on here is a co-planning agenda. So one of my struggles as an EdTech coach was when I was co-planning or when I was doing some coaching conversations, we would sit down and we would lose all of our time because we were, and it felt like we didn't always finish what we started, and then we would have to meet again the next day. So I kind of put together a agenda to say, you know, teacher talks it out. So let the teacher talk about what the lesson is, what it is that they are expecting from it, and then move on to what are the struggle points and the successes they've had if they've done this lesson before, or if they've done just worked with these students before. And then 5 minutes of just the coach saying, this is what I heard. I heard you say that this class, your fourth period class, is hard to engage. They like to talk a lot. I apologize for the dog. I think my husband's coming in the house from a walk. And then you sit down and as a partnership, define those goals. Define the goals of the lesson. And then 10 minutes of just what if, and this is my favorite part, and it's the part that we always got stuck on, was brainstorming, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we, what are all of the possibilities of the lesson? But actually timing it out so that way you didn't get too far carried away and forget to actually draft, walk through, adjust, and then plan next steps. The times can be flexible. More people might need more time on the what if or the drafting. You may even have them draft and then you guys kind of asynchronously work on the draft and then do this at a separate time. But this is kind of just a walkthrough. Coming back. So I'm going to stop because, again, I feel like I have just verbally thrown a whole bunch of stuff out at you. Questions, suggestions? I would love any suggestions on any of these things. Anything that you guys have? Appropriate wait time. I really miss being face to face. Oh, you didn't have to turn your I meant like I miss being physically in the same space.
There is nothing worse than reading a room virtually.
Yes. Oh, goodness. Thank you, Jan. All right, so the last kind of piece to this is focused leadership responsibilities. And this is the one where kind of in the book, I mentioned, testing coordinator is not necessarily the thing that this person may need to be doing. Being like a second administrator, because that can hurt coaching relationships. Being always the break fix person. Now there's a line where, you have to do a couple of things or do some small fixes for the sake of time and things like that. But these focused leadership responsibilities should really utilize the skills of the coach. So if it's a blended learning coach or an Edtech coach, then really looking at how they can use the skills of their that they have, maybe to do a STEM program for students. Like, do they work directly with students, like maybe in a club type capacity, or is there professional learning that the district as a whole needs that they could build and work on? Find the needs of the school and try to fill those with those skills of the coach. And then the resources that I have for you are really that third part. Keep the work organized and moving forward. So looking at the resources here. So if you are starting a project or a program, then I have a brainstorming document that if you're doing a group, so what is the project? And for instance, I had my ITFs doing, what was it? Computer skills. I wanted them to make sure that they have, we have skills that they were going to get in each grade level. So the teacher the next year knew what they should be coming in for. So who are the team members? What are the goals? What are all the milestones? And what do you need to do to reach those milestones? This is all very much project management kind of focused. So once you've brainstormed it, then I have a spreadsheet, which I don't need to open with anything. And it might be harder to see here, but I have a spreadsheet that kind of keeps track of all of the milestones, all of the tasks, and then what category it falls in, and then really making sure that you're scheduling those tasks. You're keeping the status updated for administrators to see, for other group members to see, any documents, resources. So a good example of this might be, we did, one of my groups did checking data protection and things like checking apps before teachers use them with students, before we allowed them to use them. So Google Apps and Google extensions had to be approved before they could use them in the classroom. So I had a small team of about 4 people get together. They did the planning and the brainstorming document. And then they really planned out, okay, by this date, this person is going to have this information ready so that we can meet on this date. And then it just kept everything rolling and moving along. And then I could go into the document at any point and kind of go, okay, they're staying on task and everything's going. And then it helped to keep everything moving forward. And then feedback. Feedback is so important whenever you're working on a project or a program. And there's a form to kind of help as you're working through something like this, that you could bring in others and have them provide some feedback on that. All right. So I'm going to give Ashley a second to let her come in. But that is pretty much in a nutshell. I'm going to go back up here. That is how all of those pieces kind of fit together for the EdTech coaching role. And I'm hoping you're welcome to use this graphic. If you're talking to administrators or you're talking to teachers, or you're working with EdTech coaches, to kind of say, you know, this is kind of the role and what the buckets are. Because I know with me, it was the standards. There's a lot of words. There's a lot of very lofty goals, but where do we put that? And where do we put those things? And what does it look like? All right, everybody. Any questions? Again, feel like I threw a whole bunch of stuff. I have a session after this on professional development and coaching, and then another session after that on EdTech coaching cycles. And while I am giving appropriate wait time, I'm going to show off the QR code. And then my email is in there, which at the moment is a personal email because I'm between jobs. I finished off with Dare County Schools earlier this week, and I'm headed to DPI on Monday and don't yet have an email. So you get my personal email if you have any questions. All right. If you don't mind, please make sure you do the feedback and everything. And that's all I have. So I'm going to give you about 20 minutes of life, time to yourself.